The facility doors closed behind the last player Monday afternoon, and something felt different about the Detroit Lions. Not the good kind of different we've been riding all season, not the electric energy that comes with winning streaks and playoff pushes. This was the kind of different that makes your stomach drop, that forces you to recalibrate everything you thought you knew about the rest of this season. Welcome back to Lions News Fan Report, where you get the latest updates and rumors about our beloved team before anyone else. Today, I'm bringing you something that's going to change how you view our playoff chances, our defensive strategy, and the next 4 games that will define whether this season ends in glory or heartbreak. Stay with me because what happened in the last 24 hours is exactly the kind of gut punch that separates contenders from pretenders, and I need to break down every angle of this situation so you understand what we're really dealing with here. Let me paint the picture for you. Thursday night under the lights, we're taking on the Cowboys in what should have been a statement game. And we did make a statement, winning decisively and showing the league that even with all our injuries, even with all the adversity, this Lions team has fight in it. But victories in this league always come with a price, and the price we paid Thursday night might be steeper than any of us realized in the moment. Something happened during that game that didn't make headlines immediately, something that got buried under the excitement of the win and the highlight reels of our offense executing. But Monday morning, when the medical reports came in and the coaching staff started making moves, the reality of our situation became crystal clear. We lost a piece of our defense that we simply cannot afford to lose right now, not with the schedule we're facing, not with the playoff race tighter than it's been in years. Brian Branch, that name should be familiar to every single person watching this video because he's been one of the most consistent and impactful players on our defense this season. The second-year safety out of Alabama who came in with high expectations and somehow exceeded every single one of them. Branch isn't just a guy who makes tackles and fills a spot on the depth chart. He's a game changer, someone who can cover tight ends, blitz off the edge, play in the box, drop into coverage, and do it all at a high level. The kind of versatile defensive back that every coordinator in the league dreams about having because he gives you so many options schematically. When Branch is on the field, opposing quarterbacks have to account for him on every single play. He's got that instinct, that awareness that allows him to be in the right place at the right time consistently. And now he's gone. Thursday night against Dallas, Branch went down with an Achilles injury. Not a tweak, not something he can play through with some tape and painkillers, an Achilles injury that's going to sideline him for the remainder of the year. Let that sink in for a second. The remainder of the year. We're talking about losing one of our best defensive players, right when we need him most, right when we're fighting for our playoff lives, right when every single game matters. The Achilles is one of those injuries that you just can't rush back from, one of those injuries that requires surgery and months of rehabilitation. There's no miracle comeback story here, no heroic return in the playoffs. Brian Branch's season is over, and we have to figure out how to move forward without him. Monday afternoon, the Lions made it official with a series of roster moves that tell you everything you need to know about how seriously they're taking this loss. The team announced they were signing Damontae Kazee to the practice squad, a clear indication that they need to add depth at the safety position immediately. They also brought back Pat O'Connor to bolster the defensive line and provide special teams help. To make room for these additions, they released wide receiver Andrew Armstrong from the practice squad, a guy they'd just signed a week ago when Amon-Ra St. Brown's status was uncertain for the Cowboys game. The fact that they're prioritizing defensive help over offensive depth tells you where the concern is right now. The secondary just lost a major piece, and Dan Campbell and his staff are scrambling to find solutions. Let's talk about Damontae Kazee for a minute because this is the guy who's going to be asked to help fill the void left by Branch. Kazee is a 9-year NFL veteran who's played for the Falcons, Cowboys, Steelers, and most recently the Browns this season. He's got 111 career appearances with 63 starts, so we're not talking about some inexperienced kid who's never played meaningful snaps. Over his career, Casey has racked up 363 tackles, 17 interceptions, 24 pass breakups, and 7 forced fumbles. Those are solid numbers that show he can make plays when given the opportunity. But here's the reality check we need to have. Casey is 32 years old. He's played in only 4 games this season with Cleveland, mostly as a special teams contributor. He's not the same player he was 5 years ago when he was making Pro Bowl caliber plays for Atlanta. He's a veteran depth piece, someone who can step in and not completely fall apart. But he's not Brian Branch. Nobody on our roster or available in free agency right now is Brian Branch. The timing of this injury couldn't be worse. Let me walk you through where we stand right now in the playoff picture because it's absolutely critical that everyone understands the stakes. The Lions are 8-5 with 4 games remaining. We're currently sitting in the 8th seed in the NFC, which means we're on the outside looking in at the playoff picture. The Packers lead our division at 9-3-1/2 a game ahead of the Vikings. We're a game and a half back from first place in the NFC North. The wild card race is a bloodbath with multiple teams fighting for those final spots. According to the latest playoff projections, we have a 52% chance of making the postseason. 52%. That's basically a coin flip. After all the expectations, after all the hype, after being considered one of the most talented rosters in the conference, we're sitting here hoping we can scratch and claw our way into the playoffs. And the schedule doesn't do us any favors. Next week, we travel to Los Angeles to face the Rams, who are 10-3 and playing some of the best football in the conference right now. Then we come home for the Steelers, another legitimate playoff team that's going to test us on both sides of the ball. Our final 2 games are both on the road, first against the Vikings and then against the Bears. That's 4 games against teams that are either in the playoff hunt or already locked into postseason positions. Every single one of those games is going to be a battle, and we're going into them without Brian Branch anchoring our secondary. The defense is going to have to adjust, find new communication patterns, figure out how to cover the same ground with less talent. It's not impossible, but it's going to require everyone else to step up their game significantly. Here's where I try to find the silver lining because that's what we do as Lions fans. We've been through worse. We've dealt with injuries before. This team has shown incredible resilience all season long, fighting through adversity and finding ways to win games even when things looked bleak. Dan Campbell has built a culture here where next man up isn't just a cliche. It's a genuine mentality that permeates the entire roster. Guys believe they can step in and perform, and more often than not, they've proven that belief is justified. Casey might be older and not at his peak anymore, but he's a professional who knows how to prepare and how to execute within a defensive scheme. The coaching staff will put him in positions to succeed, will design coverages that don't expose his limitations, and will trust that his experience will help him make the right reads and decisions. We also have to remember that defense isn't just about individual talent, it's about playing as a unit. The guys up front can help the secondary by generating more pressure on quarterbacks, by collapsing pockets and forcing quick throws that are easier to defend. The linebackers can be more aggressive in their zone drops, can take away the underneath routes that quarterbacks look to when they're under duress. Everyone can do a little bit more to compensate for what we've lost. That's the beauty of team defense. One player goes down, and if everyone else elevates their game by just 5 or 10%, you can still be effective. It's not ideal, it's not what we drew up at the beginning of the season, but it's the reality we're living in right now. The Pat O'Connor signing also makes sense when you consider the bigger picture. O'Connor is an 8-year veteran who played with us last season and has been on the roster for parts of this year. He's primarily a special teams contributor who can also give you snaps on the defensive line when needed. With injuries piling up across the roster, having versatile guys who can contribute in multiple phases is valuable. Special teams often gets overlooked, but field position battles matter, and having reliable players who can execute on kicks and punts can be the difference between winning and losing close games. O'Connor knows our system, knows our coaches, and can step in immediately without a learning curve. That familiarity is worth something, especially at this point in the season when there's no time to teach a new player everything from scratch. Releasing Andrew Armstrong was probably the easiest decision of the bunch. He's an undrafted rookie who we signed last week as insurance when St. Brown's status was uncertain. Armstrong had a productive college career at Arkansas, catching 78 passes for over 1,000 yards last season, but he hasn't proven anything at the NFL level yet. With our receiving core relatively healthy right now and the defensive needs so pressing, it made sense to prioritize help on that side of the ball. Armstrong will likely catch on somewhere else, maybe get another opportunity down the road, but for us right now, he was expendable in a way that defensive depth is not. The bigger question moving forward is whether these moves are enough. Can KZ and the rest of our secondary hold up against the caliber of offenses we're about to face? The Rams have weapons all over the field with Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua. The Steelers might not have the flashiest offense, but they're efficient and well coached. The Vikings and Bears both have playmakers who can exploit any weakness in coverage. We're going to find out very quickly if our defense can maintain its level of play without Branch, or if his absence is going to be the crack in the foundation that causes everything to crumble. I want to believe we can hold it together, that our coaching staff is good enough to scheme around the loss, that our remaining players are talented enough to step up. But I'd be lying if I said I wasn't concerned. This is the moment that defines seasons. Every team deals with injuries, every team faces adversity, but the ones that make deep playoff runs are the ones that find ways to overcome those obstacles. The Lions have a choice to make over these next 4 weeks. We can let the loss of Brian Branch derail everything we've worked for, or we can rally around each other, play with that edge and toughness that's defined this team under Dan Campbell, and prove that we're more than just one player. Before we wrap up, make sure you're subscribed to Lions News Fan Report if you haven't already. Hit that notification bell so you never miss an update, because these next few weeks are going to be wild, and you're going to want to be here for every breaking story, every injury update, every analysis of what's happening with our team. Smash that like button if you appreciate the in-depth coverage, and share this video with other Lions fans who need to understand the gravity of what we're dealing with. We're in this together, and I'll be here every step of the way, bringing you the truth, the analysis, and the perspective you need. Let's finish this season strong and prove that the Detroit Lions are built for moments like this. Until next time, One Pride,